Hey, good morning or afternoon, everyone. This is Mark here, and today I'm going to take you through some of the free applications that we offer for Business Central. So these are some of the free apps that we have available, and these are mostly the ones I'm going to go through today. So WMS Express, Ordership Express, our scheduler, barcode generator, doc extender, and a few more. So the and more are things like our cycle count scheduler. That's coming out here shortly, and a few other things like that that are completely free as well. All right, but to get into these, let's start with our one of our main free apps, and that's WMS Express. So the tagline here kind of says it all. Why would you pay for warehouse management? Now, you would if you need more substantial capabilities of what WMS Express offers, but it offers actually quite a bit. So if all you need are really the four main sort of capabilities for barcoding in a warehouse or in a retail environment or small parts room or something like that, WMS Express is probably for you. And those capabilities are, inventory count, receiving, picking or shipping, and bin-to-bin movements. So you can do movements in the warehouse, you can receive, you can inventory count, you can pick or ship, all from a handheld device. Now, what we're showing you here is sort of one of these big devices. But if you're just starting out, you could use, well, technically you could use a phone and the camera. That's not the best idea, but you can get a nice little rugged device for low cost, and the software is free, and you can all of a sudden start barcoding within your environment with very little setup at all. In fact, if you look at our WMS Express video online, it goes through the installation process, and it's 5 or 10 minutes to get it all set up and working, maybe an hour the first time you do it. And you're up and running with barcoding to a large extent. All right, so this guy here, almost anything you need to do in the warehouse if you need those four capabilities, whether you're using warehouse documents in Business Central or just purchase orders and sales orders, doesn't matter what your configuration is, whether you have bins on or not, doesn't matter, you can use WMS Express for barcoding in the warehouse. All right, now, when you're doing the barcoding for picking or receiving and everything else, you still also need to get your product out the door. And to do that, Ordership Express is a great option because what it allows you to do is get your shipping labels directly within Business Central. So you can go into a sales order, and I'll show you how this works, of course. You can go into a sales order and say, hey, I want to ship via UPS or FedEx or Canada Post or Royal Mail or whatever carriers you want to use. So you can bring up to your own 3 carrier accounts into the system and go. And if you're in the US, you can use some pre-built accounts like UPS, USPS. You'll get discounted rates on those. You actually don't even need a UPS account to use Ordership Express if you don't want. If you do have your own accounts, we'll use those rates and we'll use your account to get those labels and everything else. So the app is completely free. You plug it in and you can start generating shipping labels for the product that's going out the door, all built into Business Central. And the tracking information we store on the sales order. We store the freight cost and what you're charging the customer for that shipping on the sales order. It's pretty nifty. Right? Now, in between sort of receiving and shipping, you might actually need to produce some product. So for that, we've got the production scheduling capability in the form of our graphical scheduler. So the default behavior in the graphical scheduler really is focused on production orders, but you can actually use it for anything within the system. So you can actually go in and show sales orders on a Gantt chart type view or a calendar type view. So you can see like an Outlook style daily or weekly calendar within the tool as well. So you can put any data you want on there, jobs, service orders, assembly orders, whatever you like. The default that it ships with is production orders. You can create whatever views you want in the system. Oh, not just production orders, we also, for fun, threw in warehouse picks. So if you want to schedule and assign warehouse picks, you can do that within the scheduler as well. Lots of cool things you can do there. You can change the colors, you can change the text that's shown. It's really very capable. And we have some partners on the call as well that have asked in the sign-up questions, can you use that for your own custom projects? You absolutely can. You can take any of our free apps and you can use them for whatever you like. You don't need to contact us to install the apps or to register them or anything else. You install them and you go, and you can use them for whatever you like. All right. Now, document drag and drop in the form of Doc Extender. So Doc Extender allows you to simply grab documents and drag them into Business Central, kind of what you'd expect. The newer versions of Business Central allow that to some extent as well, but Doc Extender just makes it a lot easier. And one of the big advantages of Doc Extender is you can actually store those documents in SharePoint. And we don't obfuscate, hide the way the file structure works. You can go into SharePoint and you can find a specific document, for a specific sales order or purchase order or whatever you've dropped it onto very easily. We build a nice directory structure in SharePoint. So it makes it very easy to utilize SharePoint as your document management area where you can, set up alerts and workflows and all sorts of things when documents are added. Like maybe I want to drag, a document onto a bill of materials or something like that, and that triggers off some engineering workflow. Well, you can do that, and that's all driven by using Doc Extender to drop the stuff in SharePoint. Or, of course, you can just store those attachments within Business Central as well. And I will mention, because there was a question here, all of the free apps are Business Central Cloud. So they're not available for on-prem by default. If you have some of our products that you buy on subscription, we do make exceptions in some cases, like Doc Extender will make available on-prem if you already have a subscription for some of our other products. But otherwise, these are all installed from AppSource. So you go into AppSource, you install it, you run the setup wizard, and you're good to go. You don't, again, have to talk to us or anybody else really to get these things set up and working. If you're on-prem, you'll need to talk to your partner, and they will talk to us about whether we can provide it or not. All right, and then speaking of cloud printing. So, in standard Business Central, when you hit print, it pops up the browser print dialog to then do a secondary activity to print again, like choose your printer and hit OK, or sometimes it downloads a PDF and things like that, which isn't too bad unless you're trying to print multiple documents simultaneously. Maybe I want to print a pick ticket, an order confirmation, and something else all at the same time. Well, that's what our print node connector can do for you. This allows us to print non-interactively. In other words, we can print from a handheld device, or within Business Central, if I hit a print button, I don't see anything. It just prints everything I need by hitting that print button. And I don't have to have any user interaction to continue that print. So it sounds simple or negligible, but it's very useful, very important, and it just makes the user experience so much better. Now, our connector is free. You still sign up with a company called PrintNode. I think they charge about $9 a month or something like that for their service, and it's well worth it. You throw it in there and printing just gets so much easier, especially if you're fighting with printers and things like that. This just makes life much, much easier. All right, now when you're printing, some of those things that you might want to print will have barcodes on them. And to support that, we have our barcode generator tool. So Business Central does have built-in capabilities for printing barcodes as well. The advantage of the barcode generator tool is that it's a little simpler to use than the standard Business Central stuff. There's lots of examples on our knowledge base on how to do it. And we provide a whole bunch, I think 20 or 30 sample reports that have barcodes on them for pick tickets and fixed asset labels and all sorts of things that you can use. You can take those reports that we provide on our knowledge base, you can customize them, you can do whatever you like and deploy them. We also have a cool little tool for building, lists of barcodes that you can use either for testing or for, printing out a list of barcodes that people reuse, those sorts of things as well. All right, so those are some of the key apps that we have for free. And what we're going to do now is actually jump in and see what they look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in here, and we're going to start with some sales. I'm going to go into a sales order here real quick, and we're going to open up, well, I'll open up an existing sales order rather than start a new one. So I'll come in here, and we've got a few things that we can do within a sales order. So first of all, not that I'm going to go into it too much, but one of our paid apps is the configurator. So if I wanted to come in here and configure an item, I could use our configurator to do that. That's what this thing is. It's a configured item. I won't bother getting into it. But if you do have configured items, that configurator is a really good option for you. And if you're doing things like counter sales, you have a trade desk or part sales, things like that, we have a counter sales solution that makes it much easier to do order entry, to find product that you're selling, to take payments, all of those sorts of things. It's worth looking at the counter sales. We're not going to talk about that today. What we're going to talk about is, I've entered this order here, and now what I need to do is I'm going to, obviously send this off to the customer. Maybe they reply by email and say, yes, go ahead, I've attached a copy of the PO or whatever. Great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here to the attachment side, or maybe I want to go down straight into the lines here as soon as those fact boxes wake up. But I can go into the lines here and I can attach things directly to the line, or I can come in here and there's my doc extender. And maybe I've got an email that I just drag and drop the email in, or I drag and drop one of the attachments from the emails, or maybe it's on my file system. And I'm just going to grab a bunch of these things, drag and drop those 6 items on there, and it's going to go in. And one of the setup options that you have is whether it prompts you to open the attachments page or not, or just silently attach all of those documents. But that's what it's done. It's gone in, and you can see it's attached all of those documents for me. And now I can open that up and look at it as soon as Business Central here wakes up. But all those documents were seamlessly attached. And this is actually in Business Central again, so it's added it to Business Central here. But I could have had these stored in SharePoint as well, and they'd show up as links to SharePoint. So fairly simple, drag and drop, and there's all my documents within Business Central. Very easy to do. No clicking or anything required whatsoever. All right, so now, we've sent this off. Customers come back with PO or whatever we want to attach to this thing. And now what we want to do is we're going to go out and ship this thing. We're going to print out a pick ticket or something like that, or maybe we need to go in and do some planning and buy these items before we sell them, or whatever we need to do. But first thing I'm going to do is actually go out and print something out. I'm going to go out and print out a pick instruction for this product, or maybe print out a production order or something like that. But when I bring up this pick instruction, you'll notice a couple of things here. First of all, this is set up to print to a specific printer on a specific PC out there. And that's using the print node connector. So if I hit print at this point, this report is going to print without any additional interaction from me whatsoever. But again, the nice thing is, maybe I don't even want to see this screen. I just want to hit hit a button like print package or something like that, and it prints a pick instruction or the sales confirmation, all these different things to different printers. Well, you could set that up. Maybe I even want to print the shipping label at the same time. So you can set that up. Now, if you do want to print multiple documents like that, you might have to do a little bit of work, but you can do that all non-interactively, right? So this printer here is set up through the print node connector. When I hit print, it'll go directly to that printer. The other thing to notice is this is using one of our sample barcode generator reports. So if I hit preview on here, what you'll actually see is a very simple report. All we've done is taken the base report and added a data matrix barcode up at the top there. That could be any barcode format, the typical linear barcode, whatever you like, or you could put barcodes beside each individual item if you want, whatever you want to do. So those data matrix codes or QR codes or code 39 or code 128, any of that kind of stuff, you can add to these reports, or you can use some of the sample reports we provide for you. The sample reports both come in the application you install from AppSource, and you can download the layouts and all the source code and everything from our knowledge base and take those and do whatever you like. And related to that, actually, I'll just show you real quick. I'm just going to go into this company here. I'm also going to show you this sample barcode list. So I actually use this myself for doing demos and things like that. Just create a category and I can filter on specific things. And you can define content for the barcode and the barcode style. So again, let's go into edit list here. Open that up. So the barcode formats that we support here and sizes and everything else. But the cool thing about this is if I want to see what those look like, I can just go into the tile view, and these are all the barcodes that I have in the system, and I can filter and print these out with this report. So this sample barcode list is a great little tool for building lists of barcodes that you can reuse. In my case, I use them for demos and things like that, but you can use this in-house for generating your own barcodes. If you're trying to do bin labels or item labels and things like that, I wouldn't use this. You can use the sample reports that we include for bin labels and item labels labels and everything else. All right, now let's go back to this. So I've gone in, I've got this order for it. I've printed some stuff for it, whatever else I need to do. And you may now need to plan that order, right? Maybe it's a manufactured item, so we're going to plan it. Well, you can use some of our other tools like the enhanced planning worksheet and things like that to do the planning. That's not a free product, that's a subscription product, but you could use that to actually do the planning and everything else and create your purchase orders and all those sorts of things. But we're going to assume that the purchase orders have been created and all the stock is coming in, and now we need to receive those POs in the system. So in order to do that, we're going to go now walk into the warehouse. So now I'm standing out there in the warehouse, and I'm going to grab my handheld device. And the device I'm going to grab, it's this is the screen from the device that I'm going to use, and there is the device that I'm using. So that's a little device. This is what we call a Memoir K device. These are a nice little low-cost device. They've got a nice little scanner there, little physical keypad. Once the camera focuses on it properly, but this is a cool little device, but it'll run on any device that you want to use. So now I'm standing out there in the warehouse, and I've got a couple of packages that I'm going to receive here, and we're going to open this up. So again, what you see on the screen, these are the applications that come with the system. So I've got the advanced count enabled, but there's a standard count and an advanced count. We've got receiving, we've got the bin movements, and we've got picking or shipping depending on your configuration in Business Central. But I'm going to come into receiving. And again, check out the online video for WMS Express. You can go to wmsexpress.com, and it'll go through a little bit about how you set this up to get to the point that I'm at. And it literally is, if you've done it before, it's literally about 5 to 10 minutes to do. If you've never done it before, it might take an hour or two to get it set up to the point where I can actually start scanning barcodes. But here I am. This gives me a list of all the purchase orders in the system, who they're assigned to. And just like in the full product, I can actually come in here and add additional information. Like if I want to see, the vendor name in that list or whatever, I can make that visible. All that's controlled in Business Central or from the handheld device here. But I'm going to come in here, and pretty simply, I'm just going to hit my down arrow key, and I'm going to choose this PO. I can obviously touch the screen to do anything I like, but if you've got the little physical keypad, this one has arrow keys, you can manipulate things without touching the screen. But I'm going to choose that purchase order 003 there, hit enter on my keypad, and it's going to open it up. There's a little lag on the video here, it looks like, because this is updating faster than what the video is, but you get the general idea. And here's all the items that I need to receive on this particular purchase order. So what do you do at this point? Well, ideally, everything comes pre-barcoded by your vendor, right? So this is, I've got some stuff coming in. It's got barcodes on it already. I don't want to have to print my own barcodes. But if I did want to print my own barcodes, I can hit print, and that'll print whatever I've set up as the report for my barcodes here, for my barcode labels. And guess what that's going to do? That's going to use the barcode generator report, probably. That's the sample item label report. And it's going to use our print node connector to actually print that barcoded label out on whatever printer is configured for this device. So all of that ties together, right? We've got the handheld software, we've got the print node for the cloud printing, we've got the barcode generator for actually printing those labels off. So if you do need to print your own labels, you can absolutely do that from here as well. But luckily for me, everything comes pre-barcoded, so I'm just going to start scanning. Now, you'll notice this barcode here is not anything that matches the screen, because I've got the cross references set up already, the item reference in the system. So I know the vendor's barcode compared to the vendor's item number compared to my item number. So I just have to scan the vendor's item number, and away I go. Now you can actually build up that cross reference as you're scanning. If I scan a barcode I don't recognize, it can prompt me to build a cross reference on the fly. But in my case, that's already built. So all I do is I come in here, I scan that barcode, and it asks me how many I'm receiving, and I'm just going to say, well, I'll say 1, because that's actually what I'm receiving. And it's now updated Business Central with that quantity, and it's telling me I have 3 left to receive on this particular purchase order. So I can scan this guy 3 more times, or I can scan the remaining boxes when I find them. So that's pretty simple. Now, the other one here, this one, it's a lot of video lag here, but this guy here has a serial number associated with it, right? So when I scan this item, so I scan the item, it finds it and says, hey, you need a serial number for this particular item. So then I just simply scan the serial number, hit OK, and guess what? I've received that serialized item in Business Central. I don't have to type in a serial number. This is actually a good way of actually starting to track your serial numbers, right? So a lot of people don't want to do serial number tracking because it's too painful, right? That's a long serial number. Let me just hit enter here. That's a long serial number that I would have had to have typed in, and probably incorrectly. So by scanning it, it now makes it palatable and useful and practical to actually start scanning in serial numbers, maybe just when I'm shipping or when I'm receiving or anywhere within the system, right? And we can do lot numbers, serial numbers, the package number stuff that's coming out on Business Central. All of that is possible in here. All right, so that's a little bit of using the handheld device. And there's a few different views. You can go to card view, which just shows you one item at a time as you're scanning, or this list view here that shows you all the items. But it's as simple as that. Scan a barcode, optionally enter a quantity, and I'm good to go. We can also do things like, show the item picture. If I scan an item that has a picture associated with it, so I'm going to use my barcode list here. So that's that sample barcode list that you saw earlier. And if I scan an item that has a picture associated with it, I can actually have it pop up and show that picture when I scan. So I get that visual verification that my barcodes are actually right. So if I printed my barcodes and put them on the wrong items, that'll show me immediately that I've screwed up or not. All right, so that's a little bit of the receiving. And by the way, I can post that receipt right from the handheld, or I can post it in Business Central. But everything I've done there is real time with Business Central. And the rest of the system works the same way, right? So if I wanted to do an inventory count, now I've got what we call the advanced inventory count installed, but the basic count works the same way. The basic count is what comes with WMS Express. The advanced count you have to subscribe for. It's a subscription. But the basic count, this would be a list of all the physical inventory batches I have in the system. I choose the one I want to work in, open up that sheet, because that's what we're going to be scanning into. And this sheet, by the way, starts out blank. I've just said, hey, go scan everything on that side of the warehouse or whatever. I'm not telling the people what they need to find. I'm saying scan everything you found, and then we'll figure out if you screwed up or not later. And here, it's pretty simple. I simply scan the item, same thing as I did before, enter the quantity that I found, and we add that into Business Central. So if this was the basic count, this would have added this to the physical inventory journal, and then I can run my test report and post it and everything else. If you're using the advanced inventory count, I can do all the reconciliation, recounts, and all those sorts of things that are possible through that application. Now, you'll notice here, I don't have bins enabled in this location. If you did have bins enabled, the bin would just be visible, and I would be required to also scan the bin to indicate where I've counted that item. But in my case, I don't have bins enabled. I can just go through and scan the items without specifying the bin I've counted it in. All right, so that's a little bit on WMS Express. Pretty straightforward. You set it up, a few minutes, and then you start scanning barcodes, and you're good to go. All right, now I've received all the product and picked it for production and all that kind of stuff. Now maybe I need to plan my production up. So how do I do that? Well, a few different ways, but one of those ways is with the graphical scheduler. So the graphical scheduler, as I mentioned, by default, it comes with views configured specifically for production orders. So the default view when you install graphical scheduler is for production orders, but there's a few others here. I created one for assembly orders. There's also one for pick assignments that comes. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do. You can also run the graphical scheduler from your planning worksheet and those sorts of things. But the cool thing about these views is you can come in, you can create your own views, and you can make them show whatever you want. So again, this one is showing, release production orders, and here's where I set what I want displayed in the chart and everything else. And then I can set colors like, hey, if it's late, I'm going to turn it red, right? If it's a released order, it's going to be dark blue and those sorts of things. So you can set all of these colors as well. But if I wanted to plot maybe my release production orders and my incoming purchase orders or my outgoing sales orders or whatever, I can just hit add a data source, and I can plot anything I like on here. So I can choose any table within Business Central to show on this chart, or I've got some predefined ones that add some additional capabilities over just some random table, right? So things like our quality inspector assignments and those sorts of things, I can show pretty much anything I want within this chart. I can add whatever I like, and I can tailor this to look exactly the way I want it to look. But again, back to sort of the defaults here. This is sort of a default view. These are my production orders. When I click on this, it highlights all the operations on that production order, turns them green so I can follow them easily, but also draws the little lines between the operations. And I can come in here and I can hit details to see the production order, or I can look at pretty much anything related to that production from the menu here. And there you can see I've got some stuff that's changed color as well based on my color rules. But the nice thing about this is I can also drag and drop. So let's say, I want to move one of these things out. I want to take this guy, put it on here, and move it out a little bit in time. What it'll do is it'll go and reschedule that production order based on what I moved there. And now you can see that it's come in and it's rescheduled all of that for me appropriately. Okay, so it's got that drag and drop capability. It's got the mechanism to visualize your production orders. And again, you can set the colors or whatever you like. What I like to do is often have the work center loading shown on here as well. And you can change the color. So if something's overloaded, it turns red. So you get a little bit of a histogram almost up at the top to show you your capacities and things like that. All right, so that's the, oh, and I should also mention, you can do things like come in here, and if you want to see a calendar view, you can. This is not all that useful in production, but if you wanted to show tasks, like maybe you wanted to plot a task or something like that, a task list on here, this is kind of like your Outlook view, right? And you can set your start and end times for the day, and you can use this more like a calendar than a Gantt chart. So it has tons of capabilities for whatever you want to have it do, okay? All right, so that's a little on the graphical scheduler. So I can use this to plan out my production activities, and I'm good to go, right? All my release production orders, I go out in the shop and I execute those production orders. Now for the execution side, we have Shop Floor Insight, which again is not a free tool. It's a subscription product, but that allows you to capture all of your production activities. And if you want something where you don't have to drag and drop, right? So maybe, drag and drop is okay if I don't have a ton of production orders and I'm reasonably happy with the scheduling that Business Central does. But if I've got a ton of production orders, I don't want to be dragging and dropping all the time. What you want is something that's going to schedule automatically. Well, we have that as well. That's called MX APS, and that's our automated production scheduler. And for that, I hit a button and it will schedule everything for me in a way that I can actually take it to the shop floor and execute on that schedule immediately, taking into account material, capacity, labor, all of those sorts of things. And it'll do it all automatically rather than me sitting here and dragging and dropping things around. Okay, so MX APS, definitely worth looking at. The graphical scheduler is a great tool for visualizing your production or anything else, and away you go. Oh, and as a matter of fact, not just production, as I mentioned, if I come in here and I go into my, let's do this one because I got more. If I go into my warehouse picks as an example, we've got a little, let's call it demonstration app, but it's actually quite useful, where I actually can come in here and I can sign picks using this. And not only that, you can come in and you can have it calculate what it thinks it takes people to actually pick product by employee or whatever. So you can actually go in there and have it suggest, times it takes for each employee to execute a pick. And that way it lets me figure out how many picks I can do in a day, and I can schedule or assign those picks to individual people. So here I can schedule this pick for me at this date and time, and it will go in and do that scheduling and everything for me automatically. Okay, so anyway, that's just an example of another way we can use that graphical scheduler to go in and adapt to other information you might have within Business Central. All right, so we've gone in, we've entered an order, we've printed it out, we've received stuff on the handhelds, we've done our production scheduling and everything else, and now it's ready to go. We're ready to ship that sucker. We need to get it out the door. So what do we do now? So now we go in, and I'm going to go back to that sales order that we were working with before and open that up. And now I need to ship this out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Ordership Express to do it. And you'll notice I've got a few things up at the top here. These first two are Ordership Express, right? So this is what you get with Ordership Express. Well, there's one other one for, anyway, these are the things that you get with Ordership Express. These other ones here that are related to shipping, those are for Dynamic Ship. Dynamic Ship is sort of the, the big brother to Ordership Express. Dynamic Ship is a subscription product, but it gives you some other capabilities that Ordership Express doesn't give you. But for a very large percentage of the people that are doing shipping, all you're ever going to need is Ordership Express. Because what do? I need to ship this thing out. So I hit create shipping labels. Now I've already got UPS ground set up on this order, but I could come in here and choose the carrier I want to use. And again, with Ordership Express, you can have up to 3 carriers that you use, right? And UPS and USPS, if you don't have accounts with those carriers, you can use the built-in ones if you're in the US. But you bring your own carriers, and there's about 60 different carriers that are supported globally. In this case, it's going to be UPS, and I'm going to make it ground. Now, one of the questions I usually get on this is, can you do rate shopping? Well, for rate shopping, you want Dynamic Ship because that'll compare rates across all the different carriers, all the different services. For Ordership Express, I can go out and I can check the rate on each individual service, but it doesn't do the same type of rate shopping that Dynamic Ship does. The other limitation on Ordership Express that I should mention is it won't do international shipments. It'll only do domestic shipments. So whatever country you're in, you can ship within that country. You just can't ship, internationally for customs. All right, but the way it works, again, I've got my carrier pre-selected, and I simply come in and I say I'm shipping, an 8 by 7 by 9 box that's in inches, but again, you can set whatever unit of measure you want. And let's say it's going to be, 10 pounds for that box. And maybe I want to use a predefined package through UPS because I get better rates if I use their express box or something like that versus my own custom box. So you can set, predefined packages for the carrier you're working with. And actually, let's say I'm going to ship another, 5 by 10 by 12 box that's 5 pounds. So you can have as many packages here that you want to ship. And maybe I want to check on what that's going to cost me to ship. So if I hit get rate, it tells me to ship these packages with the current options. It's going to be $22, and I'm going to charge the customer this $27 because there's a markup associated with it, right? So I can mark that price up or change it or at this point or on the sales order if I like. Now, maybe I come in here and I say, well, you know what? They don't really need a signature for getting this. So I'm going to turn off the signature option, which I had set previously. What does it cost if I don't get a signature? And I can come in and check it, and it doesn't matter. It's the same price whether I do a signature or not. So I might as well turn on the signature again. But that's what it's going to cost me, and I'm good to go. You don't have to do that get rate. That's just if I wanted to say compare ground to expedited or something like that. So if I wanted to go to a different service, I could check the rate for that other service and those sorts of things. Really, all I have to do is specify the boxes that I'm shipping, and I say get label. And now what this would do, if you have the print node connector installed, guess what would happen? These shipping labels now will show up on your printer, and you're good to go. In my case, because I don't have a print node connector set up for this, I actually just don't want it to print to my printer. It shows up in the browser where I can hit print at this point and print it out. But there's my labels that were generated. Now, of course, these are sample labels, but the tracking number and all that kind of stuff would be here. That gets added to the sales order, and I'm good to go. So within 30 seconds of using the system, right? So all I had to do was go in there, specify the packages that I'm shipping, hit a button. I've got my shipping labels. You'll see it's added in that shipping charge onto the sales order. We track both the cost, this is what we paid, and what we're planning on charging the customer for that shipping here. Okay, and again, we'll keep the tracking number and everything else with the sales order. And if I want to go and see what I've shipped previously, I've used the sales order many times to do shipping. You can see all the different times that I've shipped this, right? But if I've done several partial shipments, I'll see all the labels I've shipped previously. If it's a posted shipment and the customer wants to return that product, I have the ability to create a return label. and send them a PDF of that return label. They can stick on the product and send it back to me. Or if I made a mistake and I'm like, oh, I can't use, you know, a 12-inch box, I got to use a larger one, I could cancel that label and then go and create new labels for the shipment instead. So fairly full-featured capability, very quick and easy to go in there, grab your shipping labels, and get the product out the door. Okay? Now, again, if you need things like address validation, or you need international shipping, or you want to do rate shopping, all those sorts of things, it's worth looking at Dynamic Ship. It's not a lot of money, but you can't beat free, and Ordership Express is a great place to start to get that shipping integration going, and you can always move to Dynamic Ship at some later date. And you can see here, they do run side by side. So if you've got some locations that need that, you know, higher end shipping capability, maybe a distribution center that needs the better shipping capability, but you've got some retail stores that occasionally ship, or maybe people in administration that need to just get USPS labels to ship packages like documents to the lawyer or something like that. Well, they could run this while everybody else runs the full Dynamic Ship. Lots of different ways you can use that. All right, so that's basically it. You know, that's a pretty good run through of some of the free products. I didn't talk about things like the Import-Export Power Tool, very powerful tool. You know, you can check out the online video of that. Great for implementers that need to do a lot of data conversion and those sorts of things, or just fixing up data in a production system. That is very useful. So there are additional tools, the cycle count scheduler, Import-Export Power Tool, and a whole bunch of others. You know, recommend you have a look at those at some point. All right, so that was basically it. Now, one last thing, I guess, is just a reminder that those free apps that I just went through, that's not the entirety of what we offer. We've got pretty much anything you need for anything to do with manufacturing and distribution, and from an execution perspective, and again, also some of that part sales, that counter sales, retail aspect of it in here as well. Okay. All of this information is on our website. You can go to dmsiworks.com. There's all sorts of stuff. There's detailed demo videos on every one of the products, including the free products. If you go to our knowledge base, you hit the knowledge base link on the main website. It's got the user guides and installation guides and everything you need for the free products to get them up and running. And it has a forum there. So the free products don't offer, you know, support through our normal support channel. But you go to the forum, and there's you can ask whatever questions you want, and it's quite often our own support people that are answering those questions. You'll get community answers as well if you need help with any of these free products. Or again, contact your partner. Most of our resellers have good familiarity with the free products and will be able to help you out if you run into problems. All right, that's enough babbling for me. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate the attendance, and hopefully we will talk again soon. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great content.